All right. Looks like we're live. So
We're live.
yes. Now it's been a long road to getting here, and John's got some signal stuff that I hope is clearing up a little bit. It sounds better than it did. We got 13 people in here so far. Thanks for everybody for coming, and yeah, thank you, John, for being here.
Sure. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't I just go ahead and intro the podcast, and we can get going. Hey there, friends on YouTube. This is Jason, JTL, Painfully Honest Tech. This is the podcast, So Honest It Hurts. Thanks so much for stopping by for another episode. Today, my guest is John Rettinger of TechnoBuffalo. I've been watching John's channel literally for as long as I've been watching tech videos on YouTube, and have always really enjoyed everything. So today we're just going to have a little talk about current events and wherever it takes us. So, John, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. After I watched your most recent video, I felt compelled to come on and talk. Generally, I don't usually respond. I've been doing things on the internet for 9 years, and generally the best course of action is just no action.
Right.
But when I feel like my integrity is being called into question, I feel the need to come on and discuss it.
Sure.
And be painfully honest about how I feel it was handled. Which I think is only fair to have a discussion going both ways, and to sort of shed some light on some issues that I have, and then also to talk about your channel and any other tech questions that your audience might want to talk about, or any sort of TechnoBuffalo stuff.
Sure.
In there as well.
Yeah. So why don't you just go ahead and
Sure.
and
So first, I don't know if I assume your audience probably saw the video if you're watching the podcast. And I'm going to make that assumption that you saw the video of Can You Trust? I think it was TechnoBuffalo or John Rettinger.
Right.
Same thing at this point. You started off saying very nice things, which I appreciated, didn't need. But that was sort of where I started to take issue with a lot of how you handle things. And I'm going to try to be painfully honest here as well. You were basing a lot of opinions based on a tweet that I think John Prosser had shared that somebody else had sent to him. On a premises with I spoke to John, and I spoke over the phone over the weekend.
Sure.
We had a nice heart-to-heart. I'd never spoken to him before. He apologized for how he handled things. He apologized, and I give him credit for how he handled the situation afterwards. He apologized publicly on Twitter for how he handled things. I explained what had happened, and the only explanation that was owed, I felt, was to John to explain what had happened, or in this case, what didn't happen.
Right.
And to offer him some transparency, which sufficed for him. So he apologized on Twitter, I think, on his live or podcast. But the issue, Jason, that I had with you was you're saying you're painfully honest and you're making broad accusations based on a picture without asking anybody for feedback. That's like me sharing a picture of you at a bar and saying, I just got a picture of Jason Lewis at a bar. I hear he's an alcoholic. Now, I'm not saying he's an alcoholic, but I've got a picture that shows him drinking.
Sure.
You're making assumptions based on a picture without going to the source and asking. Now, you're not required to ask me. You can publish whatever you want to ask. But if you want to have a video that's honest, you offer the other side a chance to discuss it. And that's where I took issue with your approach. You just said, here it is. You make an assumption. You live in Iowa, right? Iowa City?
Yep.
It's like there was a murder in Iowa City. Now, Jason Lewis lives in Iowa City. I'm not saying he's a murderer, but here's a picture of him living in Iowa City. There's such broad jumps that you make from an image. And you just took a fact, or you present to the audience. You said, here's A and here's C. I'm not putting B in there. But, maybe you can put B in there. I'm not saying it's right. Here's a guy I've watched for 9 years, and I respected what he's done. But, here's a tweet. None of that 9 years matters. Here's a tweet.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. And that wasn't necessarily my intent. It was my hope with this series is that, I'm asking questions and then starting a conversation.
But it's not a conversation if you're not giving someone else a chance to talk during that video, giving a chance to respond.
I see how you feel. I totally understand that. People have asked me, have I thought about going to people before I do those videos, and generally I've decided not to, and I completely see where you're coming from this standpoint. For me, my intent was to ask a question and hopefully start a conversation. It wasn't necessarily to give a sense that you in fact did this. I was interested in knowing whether in fact it was the case.
And I'm happy to talk about that, but it wasn't a discussion. There was no discussion there. Discussion would have been like, hey, if you came to John Rettinger, I'm going to ask him these questions. Here's a picture that surfaced that maybe looks suspect. Let's ask him. Maybe he can talk and defend himself. That's a discussion. You are leading an audience to a certain point. And what I really took umbrage with, you claimed that I was sniping for views. And I think by your mission, your most successful series is, can you trust X YouTuber's name, where it seems like sniping the views by using other YouTubers' names and pictures in the title. And I don't fault you for that. That's part of YouTube. That's the way YouTube works. And you're using a YouTube tool and YouTube searching algorithms to your advantage. Mm-hmm. And I did nothing different. I ran an ad campaign for 2 videos on a brand new series that we launched. I wanted people to see it. That's what our YouTube rep recommended. And what I offered to John was, you can see the ad campaign. I didn't target your video. I'm happy to show it to you. I ran an ad campaign in general, and Google chose to run it there. And this is what Google recommends. If you go to ads.google.com, this is how they tell you to do things. Right. And yet somehow my ethics are being questioned because of this. I mean, that's horrible. I pride myself on how I run my business. As far as I know, I'm one of the only YouTubers that even discloses how long I use devices before I review them, instead of rushing to get a review out first.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. I took umbrage. I took real umbrage, man, with that and how you conducted it. And if we're going to be painfully honest, I went through and did some research on you, and you've done some things in the past that I don't think are painfully honest. If we want to have a forum to discuss them, misleading titles, for example. April 20th, your title was iPhone 10 is dead. Apple didn't kill the iPhone 10. Your subject was on a video that Apple might allegedly end the life of the iPhone 10. That's misleading titles. And I'm not saying I care about that. Everybody does it. But if you're going to do it painfully honest, turn the camera on yourself. Your video on the Samsung Rugged Protective Galaxy 8 Note 8 case, quote, drop test and review. There was no drop. You put the drop test in quotes. The audience doesn't know what that means. You didn't really drop it. And beyond that, you put an Amazon link down below for people to try and buy it. I mean, how do we know that you're making money from that video? And I'm not saying anything you're doing is wrong. That's just the way YouTube works. But nothing I did was wrong either. And I was attacked. And I got attacked on the internet for doing nothing wrong. In fact, using Google's own opportunities and what Google themselves recommends. So by trying to play by Google's rules, I got penalized. So that's my case. Thank you for letting me speak and not interrupting. I appreciate that. I'll certainly let you do the same and return the favor.
Well, the first thing that I want to say from my part, as I said a couple of minutes ago, none of that was my intent. And maybe from where I was sitting, I wasn't necessarily seeing it from where you would see it, and that would be a mistake of omission on my part. So I want to offer an apology for that. And yeah, I think that was one of the questions that I had for you about, like, how the ad came about, like how the strategy was built, because people I've talked to had told me that perhaps it was YouTube in fact advising you in that direction, and I was more curious about how that worked, because for one thing, for somebody in my position, it's a new place to be in terms of I haven't run ads, I haven't seen anything like that, so I was curious about where the strategy originated, and as I said, meant no real, wasn't trying to call your ethics into any kind of question when I made the video, but I do see how it could be construed that way, and for that I apologize.
So I appreciate that. And the only issue then I'll be done with the topic is that video is still living on your channel. So people are coming here, still going to interpret that video the exact same way that I did, as they probably interpret every video you've done on every other YouTuber. How you want to handle that is your business. But my issue are still there because that video still lives and people are still making those same assumptions. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to answer your question. And when channels tend to get larger, or sometimes channels that grow very quickly, you tend to get a YouTube rep, somebody that works for YouTube that can talk to you. For anybody that's run a YouTube channel, it's really hard to get somebody to answer your questions. Generally, it's a forum, or it's something you fill out, you get a very generic answer back that they'll respond.
Right.
I have a YouTube rep, and it's been. Are you familiar with Facebook ads? How Facebook works in general?
I've run Facebook ads for political campaigns. That's my experience with it.
So I'll give you an example because it's the best way I can explain it. So we have on our Facebook page, on the TechnoBuffalo page, about 500,000 likes. Most people would assume that if we made a post, 500,000 people would see that. That's sort of an assumption that most people would make. That is not the case. In fact, the post is seen by about 1 to 2%. And how Facebook makes their money is they want you to run ads so the rest of the people who follow your page can see it. It might be shady, it might be underhanded, but that's how Facebook does it. Right. And that's how Facebook ads work. Google is moving to a very similar way of doing business. My channel's been around for about 9.5 years. And our YouTube rep, and we've seen it in our channel, and other channels that have been around are seeing this as well. Subscribers aren't getting notified of our videos. YouTube is promoting younger channels more than older established channels. I don't know why that's happening. So people aren't always seeing the videos that they used to see from content we make. And it sucks for us. It sucks for a lot of creators. I'm not making excuses. Certainly we could have done things better to get more views and that kind of thing. But part of the issue, I don't know how big, is how YouTube algorithm handles things. So our rep said, okay, you're launching a new series. Their first series that we've launched in almost 6 years. Like, you want people to see it. I want people to know we're doing this video series twice a week. He's like, you should run an ad on that so people can see it. Run down the first 2 episodes where you explain what the show is, who the new host is, because it's not you, and when the show is going to air so people can come back and see that video.
Right.
That's all I did. That's exactly what I did. To my knowledge, you can't target individual videos. John Prosser said you could. I offered to show him how I did it, so you could actually see the campaign himself and see that wasn't. And then YouTube decided to run one of the ads in front of his videos. Now, if you don't like ads on your videos, you can turn off pre-rolls. You can do however you want if you don't want those ads to be shown. But that's what I did, and I followed our YouTube reps' advice for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I think part of the misunderstanding is I don't think the typical person who's watching YouTube can necessarily understands that there is that arm of YouTube that will help you with ad strategy and that kind of thing. Because for most people, their experience with YouTube is send an email and pray, or blast a tweet at them and hope that they respond. But the one thing that I did, I was curious myself, having never run ads on this platform, to go and check out how exactly deep can you go with targeting. And it basically got down to the place where I could select one video and run all my ads in front of that one video. So if I wanted to be in front of Ty Lopez's video, then I could go to that one Ty Lopez video and target that, and that's where all my ad money would be spent. And so that was the educational process for me. Like, this whole situation, as it was happening, I was like, I'm curious to know, like, what are the possibilities of how this could come. Now, I understand your point that I could have come to you and we could have had a discussion. And maybe part of that to me is still that, like, I'm a relatively small YouTuber, and a lot of times I don't know if people pay attention to me. To be quite frank, it's hard to get people to respond. So I still have that in my mind as a way of.
But attacking people to get a response is not always the best way. I respond to people all the time. I do podcasts and Skype. And if you want to ask a general question like, hey, I saw this come across, can you come and talk about it? I would have been happy to. Because obviously it's an issue that people want explained, and I would be happy to explain it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And again, some of my thinking on where I am and what I might expect from the greater YouTube community is probably somewhat wrong-headed at times. And so, it's a lesson for me as I go forward doing this to know that I can reach out to people and hopefully get some response and take the journalistic process further than I have to this point in some cases. Usually, the Can You Trust series is not necessarily targeted at one specific question. I was kind of blending two things at once, and I think that's where you took umbrage with the part that I usually don't include in the video. I usually try and do a much more sort of broad overview and discuss like how people do the work that they do, because it's an interesting question for me. How do people do what they do? And one of the reasons I started the series was I'm interested in having a broader conversation about how tech YouTubers do what they do, because the fear well, not necessarily fear, but the concern that I have is sometimes a lot of the stuff seems to happen behind a curtain that a lot of people who are watching can't necessarily discern. Like, are people getting paid? Are people doing this? Are people doing that? And I didn't see a venue for having that conversation, and so that series was my sort of entry point into it. And yes, it's relatively sensational, and yes, it kind of takes a tack that's trying to get people's attention.
And that's a conversation I'd be happy to be a part of, because we've been penalized for years with views and from our audience for always disclosing when we had sponsorships, oftentimes to our detriment, when other YouTubers for a while were not disclosing sponsorships. And that hurt our business.
Yeah,
because we were disclosing sponsorships. And that's a discussion that I'm happy to have and to be a part of. And that's part of the reason we started disclosing how long we use devices, and why in every video that has a sponsor, like, that is clearly disclosed. You can go back 5-6 years ago to sponsors when nobody did it. We always disclosed sponsorships.
Right.
And there is a lot of things that go on behind closed doors, but I think what you're looking at as a YouTuber, these are people's businesses. Mm-hmm. And business does not happen out in the open. And there's no reason that it should. And people can make a choice to trust someone or not trust someone based on what they think, but all somebody has is their reputation. And that's again why I took umbrage, because I thought my reputation was being called into question. So, I think advertising in general and people not disclosing is a big problem on YouTube. And it's a big problem I personally have, and it has hurt me personally. It's taken food out of my kids' mouths because of it. And I think that might be part of the reason why we've seen our views start to decrease or plateau, at least in recent years. People saw us doing a lot of sponsored videos, whereas other YouTubers were doing the exact same video on the exact same product, but not disclosing.
Right.
And that's worked against us.
No, I totally understand that. And that's kind of what, from viewers that I've talked to, people who follow tech, people who follow tech YouTube as closely are probably a relatively small group of people, but there are a lot of people who ask that question, and a lot of people who say, like, well, it seems impossible that nobody is taking money and not necessarily disclosing, but yet and I understand that it's a business, but at the same time, like, the thing that's always been interesting to me is that journalism up until this, like, most people started out in their bedroom and then sort of evolved into something else and got bigger and more complicated and with more complex business models and that kind of thing. And in journalism, there was always the buffer of the editorial entity that overarches the journalistic process. So it's being vetted, and the fourth estate at least has some checks and balances built in. And I guess really with YouTube and on any topic, those checks and balances aren't necessarily built in, or at least as much as people might want to put their faith in. So that, again, that's the conversation that's interesting to me, and to hear it from your point of view.
I would love to have a conversation. I think if you had done more research on me, you would have seen that I take the journalistic side very seriously. In fact, I fought a lawsuit for the better part of 2 years, TechnoBuffalo versus John Burns. You can look it up, to defend our journalistic integrity. We ran some materials of the Droid Bionic when it launched. That was done from a printing house. And Motorola and the printing house, which is John Burns, sued us to reveal our source. We put a video out showing this is the phone. And I fought that for 2 years. I almost bankrupted my company. I didn't personally take a salary for 6 months to try and fight that lawsuit. That's how seriously I take my journalistic integrity. And that's how seriously I take what I do on YouTube and disclosing. And you're happy to you can look up that case. We actually lost it and had to appeal it in order for us to win. And if we had lost that case, there would have been precedent then for bloggers and YouTubers not to be considered journalists. We have to adhere to FTC guidelines, but we didn't protect us. So it's like paying for freeways and not being allowed to drive on them.
Right.
And again, that comes back to why I felt so personally hurt and attacked. I felt that if you had done any research on me or looked at my business, you would have seen these cases. You would have seen the times that I fought this tooth and nail and written editorials and gone on news stories to talk about how bloggers and how YouTubers are the new wave of journalists. Right. And then when you ran a story without asking me for an opinion, that just ran so counter to that. It hurt. And I've been doing this for 9 years and things don't hurt me much anymore. But that did.
Well, for that, I apologize. As I said, it was not my intention whatsoever. And you're probably right that I could have done some more research and learned more about, I followed TechnoBuffalo as a fan. And so I didn't know as much about that kind of history. But again, knowing that would have probably led me to asking more questions. So mea culpa on my part for that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm happy to have the discussion and sort of further. So things like this do happen behind closed doors. And I think the question you asked too is if people have affiliate links in their descriptions, do they need to disclose how much money they make from that? With this topics keep getting grayer and grayer and grayer. And if you're not doing sponsored video, but you want people to go buy a product in your affiliate link, should you be disclosing that? They're not sponsoring you, but you are making money from it.
Yeah.
And that's things that we have in our channel. You have in your channel. You got a Patreon. I saw in your affiliate link, it says Amazon affiliate link helps me out. Please bookmark.
Right.
How about things like that? Everybody's sort of walking a gray area because nothing's been defined yet in new media.
Right. Yeah. And I think that as people have become successful and have moved to a place where, what they did out of their bedroom is now something that's much more a business. The fact that it's been ill-defined makes everybody sort of scramble to try and figure out like, well, okay, I need to do this so that I can grow. And yet what avenues are open to me? From my part, and I'm sure that you had the same thing happen to you. I get 25 emails a day of a company sending me something like, hey, we'll give you our $29 headphones for free. Will you review them? Mm-hmm. And coming from an entertainment background, I was a musician and a writer. The thing was like, always get paid for your time. And that sort of brings in that conflict of interest. It's like, well, I want to be paid for my time. However, I don't want to be paid for something that's going to reflect on me negatively. Right? Sure. So it's a very strange position that I think, everyone, with the way that YouTube has handled things, especially with AdSense. And as you said, it seems the algorithm is doing funky things to different people. It makes it really hard to know what is real and what is not, what is a proper avenue for trying to monetize your stuff and what is not. And again, like affiliate links for me are kind of something I put down there. And I think when I review a product, I try and say every time I'll have an affiliate link down below. I'm not sure that I've done it 100% of the time. And I'm not sure that that people in the audience would totally understand what that would mean in terms of doing something for me. So it's really difficult. And I wonder, like, what are your thoughts about like how something like monetizing your channels on YouTube, how could that balance out and become something that we could know what the right path is?
the best approach that I can say is Google lays out very clear guidelines. They have their creator school, they have tools that they give you, they have courses that they offer to show you how to best run your YouTube channel.
Right.
The best advice I can give anybody is follow those to a T. Whether it comes to placing ads like we did, following YouTube's advice to a T, or how to properly tag your videos. That's right. The best approach that I can give is at least you're following the rules. You know, even if you get audited, at least you paid your taxes.
Right.
You know, if you don't have anything to hide, you have nothing to hide. And I err on the side of caution, and that's hurt my business quite a bit, especially 4 or 5 years ago, when a lot of new YouTubers that are now established were coming up, perhaps taking grayer paths,
right?
Than we did, and now we're paying a bit of a price for it.
Right.
It sucks. It sucks big time. On the flip side, I think the audience is coming for entertainment, and they're coming for opinion. It's just one person's opinion.
Right.
I mean, that is what it is. It's not. We're not reporting on politics. We're not reporting on a presidential debate. Things that maybe have realer consequences.
Right.
If you buy the wrong phone, it sucks. It's still gonna make phone calls and get you on Twitter.
Yeah. You're right, and that's probably good advice. I mean, I've definitely gone through a good bit of the Creator Academy stuff. Usually, it's like, I have a question about this. How do I do this? And I'll go to that section in the thing. Having not necessarily gone through it like soup to nuts, but yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice. One thing, again, like for me, it's just the question of the overarching question that brought me here, as I said before, is just like, how do people do what they do? And again, maybe I admit that the way that I blended these two issues together in the Can You Trust that I did on TechnoBuffalo was different than what I typically do, and it went in a direction for you that I did not intend. So, as I said, for that, I offer my apology, but I hope that you understand why I'm asking the questions.
I absolutely understand why you're asking the questions. And I as a new creator or like a younger channel, I can understand and appreciate, because I've been there. What again, and I'm not going to harp on this again, but I don't understand was the manner that you did it on the video. The video and the questions are two separate topics. I think those are finished the video topic.
Okay. Yeah.
But the questions are all very valid. How do I get noticed? What do I do? In your case, who do I yell at, or what names do I use to get people to look at this? And it's tough. And if your reputation, so you're branding yourself as painfully honest, right?
Yeah.
You're telling people what I do is honest. Everything I do is upfront, right? Yeah. So I did some research on you as well. On your Twitter account, it says proudly create with Talency. Talency?
Yeah.
If you go and look up Talency, essentially what it says, upon joining, you get free access to YouTube Premium and vidIQ to boost and save your time. Our team will also, with your permission, manually review every single video you've ever uploaded and perform pinpointed changes to help improve your channel's metadata. That sounds kind of shady to me. How are you going to pinpoint some metadata? Also get your own strategic manager and unlimited custom-made channel branding. Get TubeBuddy for free, 24 hours. I mean, the point being that right on your Twitter channel is essentially what we're doing with advertising. Like you're trying to use the tools at your disposal to better get your channel noticed.
Right. I see what you're saying.
And you've got it right on your Twitter page. Proudly create. So, if you want to come across that, and I think as painfully honest, then that painfully honest has to come back on you. And if you just want to be a tech YouTuber with a unique approach, then I think you're doing an awesome job. When it comes to painfully honest, though, I don't know that you are. And I think if you were looking at yourself to make your own video on you, can you trust? There's a lot to pick out there. And I feel like it's only fair if you're going to evaluate others to evaluate yourself with that same lens.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree that it's, again, I don't think anybody always knows what avenue to take. I mean, Talency and MCN came to me and they said, we'll offer you these services to help you do what you need to do, which I can see your point, although I had thought about it in that way, that it is a form of like, sort of giving yourself a boost. And I just had never thought about it that way, but I don't necessarily see that as being dishonest.
I don't either. I don't either at all. But if you're going to call me out for advertising or call others out, it's the same thing. And I don't think that's why I don't think I did anything wrong. Like I don't think you did anything wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I
don't know. But I'm sorry for keep coming back to that. 'Cause I know you're asking legitimate questions. About how to get a new channel exposed. And the honest answer is I don't know. I started my channel 9 years ago when YouTube was mostly cat videos and guys getting hit in the balls.
Right.
That's what it was. I didn't have a grand vision. I was just in the right place at the right time. It was 99% dumbass luck and maybe 1% foresight that I had.
Right.
Creating a YouTube channel now and getting it noticed is insane, especially in the tech world when there's 100,000 videos on any given product. I mean, right. It's almost impossible to get noticed. And I think the fact that you've even found a niche with the Painfully Honest and even achieved, what you've achieved is still very impressive. Now, I admit I disagree with how you've done it, but that aside, I think what you've done has actually been very impressive. And I think you're on a very good path to sort of get noticed and get the recognition. But I will say the more you do this series, the more bridges you are going to burn.
Sure.
So just be prepared for that as you sort of grow in the tech community. You want to reach out to YouTubers. You want to do more collaboration. You want to get more eyes. You may find more doors start to shut than open. Yeah.
And I completely went into doing the series understanding that would be the case.
Okay.
It's interesting for me, just because at 46 years old, I've already had 30 years of a career as a musician, rising up through the ranks, and then also as an author rising up through the ranks, and I've kind of been in this business for a while. And at 46, I've just been, well, you could look at it one of two ways. Like I've been beaten down enough to have a low threshold or a high threshold for pain, or I've just sort of decided to not be as precious as I was at different times in my life.
Sure.
And it's not that I do that in saying like, okay, and I'm just going to go after everybody without trying to be open, honest, and reasonable in how I look at people that I'm basically criticizing. I mean, it's a valid argument to say like, well, why do you think you can criticize anyone? And it's not necessarily for me that I want to criticize so much as I want to explore and again ask those questions. So I'm definitely gonna cross some people the wrong way, and I know that I have. I know I hope that you and I could salvage out of this some relationship where, with my apology and you understanding that we could build some sort of friendship. But I would totally understand if you decided that wasn't for you.
Listen, and I appreciate it. I know that it's not easy to apologize, and that's why I respect John Prosser for the things, and I won't share him publicly. But what he said to me privately, I appreciate it. And I went into that phone call like I went into this live stream, not knowing how it was going to go.
Sure.
I'm sure you knew I was going to bring it to that. Obviously, I agreed to be on there because you made a video about me.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to have on. I can respect that. From my standpoint, that video still lives on your channel, unedited, annotated, for people still to make the same judgment that I made, and that I think a lot of people in your audience made in the comments. So I still have issue with that. Now, I brought that up with you, and that part is done, but that video is still live.
Right.
So you and I can still be civil, but until the questions have been answered that you sort of tried to connect, I have a hard time, and I'm being very honest, a hard time saying, let me help you, when you didn't really offer me the same courtesy going into that video.
Sure.
And I'm being very upfront. Now, if you choose to make any changes or annotations to admit that, like, listen, I should have done this. I should have asked questions. And that's a different story. And I would be happy to do anything. And I have people who vouch for me. I've helped young creators. I've helped a lot of creators that are now way more successful than me because of their infinitely more talent than me. And I think you are very talented. You've got an incredible acumen. You're great on camera. You know, I looked up some of the things that you've written. You're an incredible writer. I looked up some of your music. You're an incredible musician. You're an incredibly talented human being. And it's not surprising that those talents helped you with what you do. So I'm not sure you're necessarily going to need anybody's help. I think you're already, you know, there, and having talent is, I think, 95% of the battle. The rest is just figuring out how to use the tools at your disposal.
Yeah, and I guess one fear that I have is that it's sometimes talent is there, like, but then some of it is like the people at the same level as you who choose to take those more gray paths. And so I've been to that place where it's like, oh, next step is this success, and yet for myriad reasons it doesn't work out, at least not in the way that I envisioned it. And I guess there's probably a part of me that says, you know, YouTube is the same as those things. This is not any place that I ever anticipated being. Like I started doing YouTube, like I quit drinking 6 years ago, and I started doing YouTube videos.
I apologize for my comment at the beginning about the alcohol. That I did not know.
No, it's fine. It's, you know, it's something that I'm totally willing to talk about, but I don't expect everyone to know. So I don't take any offense to that.
I really respect that struggle.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I started this just doing that as ways to fill my evenings as I sort of went insane. But it's built into something that I didn't expect it to be. And so I just find myself, like, a lot of times just being like, huh, this is weird that all this is happening. And trying to use what I know works in terms of getting attention. I appreciate you coming on and giving me your feelings about how that video felt to you. That's something I don't necessarily get to have. I don't necessarily have people come on and have the courage or the courtesy or whatever it is that you want to call it, to actually tell me what the situation felt like to them. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I can respect, you know, someone who can take feedback well, and I appreciate how you handled it on this live stream. I really wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Yeah, I'm generally a pretty easygoing guy who will throw his opinions around pretty freely, but I've never gotten into a situation where I didn't feel like, you know, I can find a common ground and have a conversation. So I mean, I know it wasn't easy for you probably to come on here and to have this conversation in the frank way that you have.
Thank you.
But I really do appreciate it, because it's feedback that's going to be valuable. I think the people who are watching in chat, some of them are going to think that I'm, you know, going soft or something. I think they'll probably take a lot of things away from it. But what I'm taking away from it is really having an opportunity to learn how my video impacted someone like yourself in the given situation that I was exploring in the video.
Sure.
Which again is not something that I readily was able to understand.
I appreciate that, and I want to clear up, because I see it in the chat that, and this is what I offered to show John from Page Tech, showing the ad campaign. We never targeted his videos, or never targeted his channel at all with our ad campaign. We just ran a general ad campaign, and that's where YouTube chose to put them. And I offered to show him that. And by his own initiative, he said that on Twitter as well. I'm not saying anything he didn't say publicly. To show that was nothing we were doing at all. So I do just want to clarify that.
No, and I totally understand that. I mean, John and I had a conversation after you guys talked, and he told me what you guys had talked about, you know, not surely not everything, but he did say that, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve you at all. I totally understand, because when I went and looked, it is something that it was surprising to me that's something that YouTube recommends people do, because it seemed at first really counterintuitive to me. But
it's for brand. It's nothing that we have ever done. We've run ad campaigns in the past, but they're just general ad campaigns to get people who subscribe to our channel, who are watching other channels and other videos, to see what we're doing. And that was the whole idea behind it. I've never targeted a channel. I've never targeted a video. In fact, when I told John and I'm telling you, I didn't even know you could do that.
Right.
I mean, maybe that shows my own ignorance in the ad space, but it's just general ad campaigns. And to anybody who wants to see those tools and want to take advantage, you just go to youtube.com/advertise. I mean, that's how much YouTube is recommending this. It's their pay to play. It's the same model Facebook has.
Yeah. No, and I do appreciate it. I do appreciate you like coming on and explaining. I know you've got to run. You've got some family related things that have to get taken care of. I totally understand that. I have my own family related things that often need to be taken care of. So I'm going to let you go. And again, just reiterate that, I offer an apology for hitting you in a way that I didn't intend to hit you with this video, and for you to educate me on how you did receive it. It's a learning process for me as well. So I want to say thank you for that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to see the growth that comes from your channel.
Thanks very much. I look forward to more TechnoBuffalo as well. Good luck to you guys. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.